Good morning and welcome to the EDC Quarterly Breakfast. I'm Isabelle Renaud, President and CEO of your chamber. And today is the first in-person indoor event in more than a year. Yay! So we're very excited, and I feel like it's really close for celebration, and I see hope in the horizon and look forward to seeing you all more often moving forward. We have missed you all. We're so grateful you can join us this morning. Also, we're grateful to our online attendees who are joining us through our Zoom platform, and we're looking forward to really engaging and interesting discussion with our panelists very shortly. Before we begin, I would like you to please stand up so you can join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now, I would like to take a moment to extend a special thank you and welcome to our elected official and special guest this morning. From St. Johns County, we have County Commissioner Christian Whitehurst. He's joined today by two of his county administrators, Joy Andrews and Brad Bradley, as well as Sheriff Hardwick. Thank you for joining us. Also, the City of St. Augustine, we have Commissioner Roxanne Horvath, Nancy Sykes-Klein, and they are both joined by their city administrator, manager, John Reagan. We also would like to recognize Susan Green and Robert Olson with the St. Augustine and St. Johns County Airport Authority Board. Thank you all for your service and what you do for our community. Next, I would like to ask, he's already there, Commissioner Whitehurst, who sits on the North Florida Transportation Planning Organization for St. Johns County. I'm going to ask him this morning to lead us on in the invocation. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabelle. If everybody would please bow your heads as we go to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning with grateful hearts, grateful for all the things that you bless us with each and every day. Grateful for the luxury of taking the things that we take for granted. Father, we ask that you impart your wisdom among us so that we can make the best decisions for this wonderful community that we live in. And as we go forth in our life, that we continue to serve you for your glory and your honor now and forever. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. So this is the fourth broadcast of the EDC Quarterly Breakfast this year that we've produced since the start of the pandemic. And this is the first time that we do a truly hybrid event. As you can see, we have all the cameras, and Kathy Newman has done a fantastic job in getting us really innovative and moving forward with providing you access to information wherever you are. And so we really are striving to try to provide you all the information we can that are meaningful, timely, and with really engaging speakers and engaging opportunity. And I want also this morning thank the staff at Marriott Sawgrass to be very accommodating for us to have this setup being outside and inside at the same time, having all the broadcasts. I would like to say thank you to Todd Hickey, who is the general manager. As you know, we are monitoring very closely the CDC guideline, the health department guideline, and we'll continue to do that as we are entering in more events in 2021. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce your chair for this year, Dr. Erica Hammer, who is the chair of the board of directors for the chamber. Erica.
Thank you, Isabelle, and good morning. It's a pleasure to be here today. I became your chairwoman on October 1st of 2020 with a very positive outlook for the chamber and our business community despite the pandemic. Prior to March of last year, the board had a great foresight to develop a plan that would steer our chamber through times of crisis. And now, 1 year later, I can assure you that your chamber is still strong and resilient because of the leadership. If you are a member of the board, please stand and be recognized. Now, some of you are in the audience and some of you are with us at home. Regardless, please know that your stewardship is truly appreciated. I would also like to acknowledge and thank the sponsors of today's EDC Quarterly Breakfast event. The support of our sponsors for this and other events provides the Chamber with the resources necessary for us to curate and engage the informative events. Our sponsors this morning are North Avenue Capital, Jackson Law Group, Puro Clean Emergency Restoration Services, Pivot CPA, Nissan St. Augustine, and the Fiorentino Group. And our principal sponsor is the St. Augustine and St. Johns County Board of Realtors. A few words about the St. Johns County and St. Augustine Board of Realtors. The board was founded in 1964 and is headquartered in central St. Johns County. The members of the Board of Realtors are very important and active in our community. Not only are realtors the front door to our community, they are heavily engaged in public policy issues important to us, including affordable housing. And now I have the pleasure of introducing Beth Sweeney, Chairwoman of the Chamber's Public Policy Committee.
Thank you, Erica. I want to take a few moments this morning to acknowledge all the hard work done on your behalf by the Public Policy Committee. We are really focused this year on being an advocate for our members, and our committee members have just been wonderful. And I also want to thank Bob Porter, too, who's our Vice President for Government Affairs, who's just been wonderful. I'm going a little off script, but I have to give him his props. The members of the Public Policy Committee have worked tirelessly to represent the Chamber's interests and identify relevant and current issues. I wanted to share that we have 2 advocacy agendas for 2021, which you can see on the table in front of you. One for local governments and the other covering statewide issues of importance to the business community. These agendas can also be found on our website, the Chamber's website, under the Public Policy tab. And again, there's printed copies on your table. I won't read through them for you, but just to summarize the key takeaways, the Chamber is focused on enhancing and expanding relationships in the Northeast Florida region, driving economic development, and leveraging our community brand and reputation to assist our members. At the local level, we are committed to economic development, championing business infrastructure improvements, and supporting long-term funding sources for beach restoration and replenishment, while actively supporting efforts to obtain state and federal matching funds. One area of great importance is advocating, workforce initiatives at the local levels. We work closely with state, regional, and local municipalities to advocate for business interests. Thank you, and I'll now turn the agenda over to Mike Copenhaver, immediate past chairman of the Economic Development Council Executive Committee and the owner of Fisher Copenhagen Architecture and Design.
Thank you all very much. That was very kind. Thank you, Beth, for the updates and all of the important things your committee is doing for us. On behalf of the Economic Development Council and our current chair, Andrew Jackson, who could not be here with us today, welcome everyone. It's good to see all of you here. It's certainly good to be here in person. We have all experienced unprecedented challenges this year, but we have also observed great resiliency among our chamber members and throughout our county. We were prepared for signs of extreme economic distress, yet we learned recently that St. Johns County is once again tied for the lowest unemployment rate in the state. In a recent Facebook post, Governor DeSantis shared the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity in January. The employment data found that Florida has seen 9 consecutive months of private sector job growth and realized a 4.8% unemployment rate, far below the national rate of 6.3%. And at 3.5%, St. Johns County unemployment rate remains below both the state and the country. And in keeping with today's topic, I'm happy to announce that there are many fast charging stations for electric vehicles in St. Johns County. 4 ports were added this month at the Gate Petroleum Station in the booming World Golf Village area by Florida Power and Light. Electric cars are part of our transportation future. Designed as a pilot program to promote use and adoption of EVs, the FPL Evolution program is installing more than 1,000 charging points and more than 100 spots across Florida. I'll leave the other transportation-related economic development announcements for our esteemed panel members. Our county is positioned well for 2021. We have come together to endure this global pandemic and look forward to a strong future. During a time of extreme uncertainty and advisory for the small and large businesses alike, the number of chamber members renewing and joining the chamber have exceeded our expectations. I would like to extend a warm welcome and special thank you to those members that have joined the Economic Development Council level and above. Ameris Med Spa, Buc-ee's, Florida Elite Soccer Academy, Kelly Farm Events, Cohen Outdoor, Liberty Landscape Supply, Lotus Commercial USA, Natural Life, Orange Marmalade Inc., P.F. Smith Consulting LLC, Slate Real Estate, Summit Properties International Florida LLC, TD Bank NA, and Vigilance Security Group. Thank you for joining the St. Johns County Chamber of Commerce and for your support of the economic development in St. Johns County. While this has been a challenging time, there is a good deal of positive momentum regarding economic development in St. Johns County. I invite you to visit the Chamber website under Economic Development to view the EDC's annual report for last year. Now, I would like to introduce our panel on behalf of Victor Ramos, the Executive Director of the St. Johns County and St. Augustine Board of Realtors, and today's principal sponsor who could not join us today. I'm pleased to introduce our moderator, Shannon Dunaway Schusler, a principal at I'm going to get this wrong, I hope not, Fioriento Group. She has extensive experience in our topic area, including several years as Chief of Staff and Director of Legislative Affairs at the Florida Department of Transportation. During her time with FDOT, Shannon assisted with the supervision and operation of all department activities, including policy development, responsibility for 6,200 employees, and a $10 billion annual budget. She also served as the primary liaison for FDOT with other state agencies and local governments to advance multimodal transportation projects and priorities. Shannon employs her experience and skills in legislative affairs and policy development in her role with Fiorentino Group and to assist clients with issues relating to transportation, economic development, business, and local government. We are also joined this morning by the Florida Department of Transportation District 2 Secretary Gregory C. Evans. Secretary Evans was appointed as the DOT District 2 Secretary in 2012 and is responsible for the day-to-day administrative, planning, production, and operations for District 2, encompassing 18 counties in Northeast and Central Florida. An alumnus of Southern Institute of Technology with a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering Technology, Secretary Evans has over 25 years of experience in the management and operations of public infrastructure. Also joining our panel this morning is Nathaniel P. Ford, Sr., Chief Executive Officer of the Jacksonville Transportation Authority and the past chair of the American Public Transportation Association. Mr. Ford holds an executive MBA from the Davis School of Business at Jacksonville University and a Bachelor of Applied Science degree in Organizational Leadership from Mercer University. He is a graduate of the Executive Development Consortium program at Emory University and has completed executive training at the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. Mr. Ford was awarded the American Public Transportation Association's Outstanding Public Transportation Manager for 2020. I'm also pleased to introduce Fong Nguyen, Transportation Development Manager for St. Johns County Growth Management. Mr. Nguyen is a graduate of the Florida International University with a Bachelor of Science in Civil and Environmental Engineering and a Master's of Arts from Union University. His experience includes 6 years in bridge design with a private engineering firm, 3 years in roadway design with the FDOT District 4, and 16 years combined experience managing transportation, planning, and development with the city of Palm Coast and St. Johns County. Mr. Nguyen has served St. Johns County for over 12 years. Thank you all for joining us today to share your experience, knowledge, and insights into transportation as an economic development driver and a glimpse into the future that we can expect. Shannon, please open your discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, and I apologize for making you say Schuessler and Fiorentino all in the same time. It's a mouthful. Before we begin, we have a few instructions for the virtual members of our audience. Today, virtual discussion is broadcast in webinar mode to provide you with the best quality sound and visual. If time permits, we will open the floor for questions from our live and virtual audiences. Chamber staff will monitor the webinar chat box for questions submitted from our virtual attendees. If there are questions submitted from our virtual or live audience that we simply cannot address due to lack of time, we will share those questions with our panelists to be answered after the program. Now on to the discussion. I would like to start off by asking each of you to share your transportation priorities and vision for the Northeast Florida region and specifically for St. Johns County. Mr. Nguyen, would you start us off?
Good morning, everyone. Okay, good morning, everyone. It's a wonderful morning that I drove through foggy Interstate 95 and through all the Palm Valley, Nocatee area. And I'm happy to say that I arrived safely. It was quite foggy out there. Let me start with a vision for St. Johns County. The transportation vision of St. Johns County is to provide the most efficient and safe transportation system. At the same time, we would embrace new initiative, new innovative concepts, as well as technology in order to do that. And at the end is that we would like, our goal is to foster and maintain a vibrant economy. As you are aware, the last 10 years or so, St. Johns County Commission had directed us with certain policies in order to, for St. Johns County to be one of the top county around the nation in almost in every area of life. But the end goal is that we have thousands of people come into St. Johns County and make it their home here. And that's what we strive to provide for them. In terms of priorities, then once we have that vision, we look back at our pocketbook. We look at what we have. And on an annual basis, our commission adopted the transportation list of priority projects, and they also adopted the legislative action plans. Primarily is to provide funding with what we have. We look at and evaluate that on an annual basis. But if you look at the transportation projects, is one of the top 5 priorities for St. Johns County. We are very fortunate that our infrastructure and assets throughout the county can be expanded, while many other counties or cities, they are maxed out. So there's still opportunities for us to do that. While we enjoy one of the lowest tax among the 67 counties. So there are also room if we need to expand that, even though I don't think any of us would like higher taxes, but at least we know that there's an opportunity, there's options for us to do that. So on a priority basis, we're looking at providing for expansion of existing roads and expanding new roads. While we also, to accomplish, we work closely with Jacksonville Transportation Authority to look at public transportation as well. And at the same time, we also would like to expand and provide multi-purpose path and bicycle facilities. We currently have things working in order to get us there. So what I'm trying to provide is that we are very proactively trying to accommodate for the future of our county.
Thank you, Mr. Nguyen. Secretary Evans, would you like to go next?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And I'll tell you in advance that I'm not nearly the eloquent speaker as the gentleman to either side of me. And I do have this slight accent. So if you need me to slow down or repeat something, just unmute yourself and use your raised hand function, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. But, you know, as my introduction stated, we cover an 18 county area in Northeast Florida. So my title is District Secretary, and that's a long title that says that I'm responsible for every pleasant and not so pleasant experience you have on our transportation systems out in Northeast Florida. So I hope more are pleasant than the other. But our primary focus from the Department of Transportation is what we call the vital few. And we'll simplify that into safety, mobility, and innovation. As we look outward to our customers that we serve, first of all, safety. We have to drive down the number of fatalities and serious injuries, working with our law enforcement partners, those associated with education, and also in the world of engineering. When we talk about mobility, we got to find ways to enhance the ability and efficiencies to move people and goods. We also have to understand that, you know, adding capacities to our roadways may not always be the answer. Working with my friends over in St. Augustine, America's oldest city, not a lot of room to add capacity over there. So we have to think outside the box and bring partners together and see what other opportunities are out there to make that investment to keep that moving. When we think about innovation, and you know, I'm going to have a proud moment here, but FDOT is one of the most recognized state agencies in the entire United States. And in order for us to maintain that status, you know, we got to continue looking at, you know, what's the latest technology, what's the latest training, what's the latest equipment research that we need to take a look at and bring on board with us. And this, as we face inwardly, we're looking at fostering talent. How do we attract? How do we retain? How do we train the best possible workforce to serve you as our customers out there? And that's no easy given task when we know of, you know, salary restrictions and you know, benefit packages compared to us versus private sector or against municipal agencies as well. That's becoming some disparity numbers there also. And also, sadly to say, hurricane season is right around the corner. And Shannon and I, we have worked together through Hurricane Michael. We were given the responsibility after the impact to our sister district out in the Panhandle to take over 8 counties overnight. So we dispatched a couple of 200-300 people out there, and we set up a mobile DOT out there. And then as we continued to clear debris and repair roads, Shannon, thank you for that pizza lunch that you fed about 100 people that day, actually, out of the back of your SUV. And we needed that. There was, you know, not a lot of resources in that highly impacted area. But I say all that to say this, DOT is a first responder. We've got to clear our roads. We've got to clear our highways so that next wave of first responders can come in. So unless you can fly or float, you got to follow us to the most impacted area. And we are committed to getting you there as quickly as possible. And if you don't believe me, just the devastation that wind and water can cause, just talk to Shannon and I, and we'll give you some more stories. Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you, Secretary Evans. Mr. Ford?
All right. Well, thank you, Shannon, and thank you, Isabella, for putting this together. And in many ways, I find it really enjoyable to be here and see people, you know, and so thank you for pulling us all together and getting us in the room together. And I think, you know, if I were to talk about priorities, before I do that, let me recognize Secretary Evans here because he actually serves on the JTA Board of Directors. And so we are, in terms of partnership, we are all linked at the hip across this community. And then we have our chair of the board, Ari Jolly, who's actually sitting in the room also. So I have no pressure on me in terms of what I say here. But it's through, I think, these partnerships that our community will be able to thrive. I mean, the better that we move, the greater our entire Northeast region will become. And if I were to talk about priorities for the JTA, we have got so much going on our plate, but the number one priority that we're facing, or our goal that we're trying to deal with, is related to vaccination access. We're focused on that, laser-like focus on that as the JTA. And you may have heard about just last week where we actually converted some of our buses to become mobile vaccination units because there are members of our community, I would imagine here also in St. Johns County, there are members of our community that while access, availability of a vaccine is there, the accessibility is not there for them. And so we're filling that gap on behalf of the city of Jacksonville and making sure that as many individuals in our community can receive a vaccine, either through an expansion of our service, which we've done to get them to vaccination facilities, or in some cases with the mobile units being able to take vaccinations to them. And so it's gotten a lot of attention around the nation in terms of public transportation really leaning in to help with vaccinations and the health of our community. Another priority you may have heard about last week is the Mayor Curry from City of Jacksonville and myself actually announced a plan, an initiative to expand our existing local option gas tax. So right now we're at 6 cents in terms of local option gas tax. Legislatively in the state, we can go up to 12 cents. Both he and I and our teams between the JTA and the city have decided that at this particular junction, and it started last year as part of an economic recovery plan in the face of the pandemic to pull us out of a recession, we identified an exhaustive list of transportation infrastructure projects that needed to be addressed in our community. But the challenge is getting the money to and the funding to actually cover those costs. We will be expanding our gas tax to the full 12 cents, as well as extending the existing gas tax, which is going to expire in 2036. So we'll be going from 2037 to 2046 on the existing 6 cents, and then a totally new additional 6 cents for the next 30 years with hopefully support from our city council. This will generate about $1 billion worth of revenue for both the JTA and the city to split 50-50. For the JTA, will allow us to tackle one major challenge and another priority, which is the aging Skyway in downtown Jacksonville. Gives us an opportunity to refresh that system, rehabilitate that system. You had a chance to see 2 of the autonomous vehicles out in front of the hotel here. That is our plan, to replace the Skyway Monorail vehicles with autonomous vehicles and taking the 2.5-mile system we currently have today and expanding it to 10 miles, taking it into the collar cities or collar towns right around our downtown core. And so that is a project that we're very excited about. The first phase of it is already underway, connecting our urban core to the sports complex. I see Bernard Schmidt, who's our VP of automation in the back room. So all those nice autonomous vehicles are under his purview, and that project of the ultimate urban circulator is going to be his project for the next 5 to 7 years, depending on funding. But we're very excited about that funding to be able to complete that project. Also in that local option gas tax, and I shared this with a couple of stakeholders here, also in that list of projects is preliminary work, design and engineering work that will take us to 30% design for commuter rail from St. Augustine to downtown Jacksonville. And, that's a long journey. I want to be very careful with the expectations here, but we do need to start talking about other modes of transportation as we're all interconnected in Northeast Florida, and our citizens really don't see those bright county lines that we see on maps. I think they really look for us to find ways to pull it together from one county to the next and make it as seamless as possible. And we do believe that commuter rail is something that needs to be seriously explored at this time. All of that will converge to the Grand Central Station, I believe, of Northeast Florida, which is the Jacksonville Regional Transportation Center. We actually were scheduled to have a big opening last year this time. The pandemic hit, but the Jacksonville Regional Transportation Center has been built. It's open. We're operating it right now. And the St. John's Express Select Service actually connects the St. John's County Government Center to downtown Jacksonville in those executive shuttles that we purchased. And we're looking for more opportunities as a JTA to be a regional asset that can be leveraged. Right now, we operate all of Clay County's transportation services, public transportation services, and we provide services similar to St. John's Express Select for Baker, Clay, as well as Nassau County. So the JTA that you may have known from years ago is actually more regional in nature in terms of our operation. The ability to do interlocal agreements with local governments have given us that opportunity. And just finally, I think we have a great opportunity to partner. We are already working well with St. John's County. We're well connected with FDOT, as I mentioned earlier, and we're here to serve and provide dynamic, innovative transportation services to this community. And one last thing, we actually build roads and bridges too in partnership with Florida DOT. So we kind of do it all. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go back to Secretary Evans. What potential funding opportunities do you anticipate may come from the Biden administration infrastructure transportation bill, and how do you see those opportunities benefiting St. Johns County and Northeast Florida as a whole?
Well, let's look at it this way. And with the onset of the pandemic, that emphasis has just been enhanced through his office and relationship with the Department of Transportation. At the onset of the lockdown, you guys saw it like I did. Our volumes, our roadways dropped 30, 40, 50%. The governor said, hey guys, listen, with reduced volume out there, can't you increase the lane closure time, allow our contractors more time to work, thus keeping our people employed and hopefully adding employees. If you watch the news, you probably saw him and former President Trump talk about this very thing in the Oval Office. And that made us proud because we were able to work with our contractors on enhanced opportunities for those employments. Yeah, the federal stimulus bill directs, I think, around $9-10 billion to the state of Florida. I appreciate Governor DeSantis' decision to allocate quite a bit of that money towards transportation infrastructure. And then there's talk of a federal infrastructure bill that may send possibly billions of more dollars for Florida for infrastructure improvement. So, to deliver that kind of program is going to be exhaustive. But we had a statewide meeting yesterday with every district in DOT across the state and our Secretary, Kevin Tebow, and we are prepared. We're going to use some innovative ways to deliver these projects to get contractors' boots on the ground and things moving forward. So we're prepared.
Good, thank you. Mr. Wynn, would you like to answer that question?
Certainly, thank you. We hopeful to receive some funding in order to move forward some of our projects, but just to provide you some good news is that in St. Johns County, we have 52 bridges and only one rated below 50. So we have programs in order to fund that as well. I think the important thing is that we have to be ready to receive the dollars. At this time, we don't know what the transportation bill will encompass. Back in President Obama's time, there were stimulus dollars. We call it shovel, or it was referenced as shovel ready, which means that you have to have acquisition in place, right of way in place in order to receive the construction dollars. And we were fortunate to program our past budget and existing budget in order to be ready to do that. So we have many roads that we are basically ready. We have acquisition in place. We have pond sites in place. So the only thing that we left is the construction dollars. And we have miles of these. For example, County Road 2209 stretches about 30 miles from Racetrack Road down to County Road 204 or State Road 13. We have acquired over 90% of the right-of-way, and that we have that ready. And part of that, we also prepare to do preliminary design in order to have these funding in place if there are any coming to St. John, and we're hopeful there will be.
Thank you. Mr. Ford, what about you? And I'll add a little bit into that. Hearing the administration is going to be very heavy on transit.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we're very excited about that. So when we hear the president is announcing nearly $3 trillion in terms of transportation infrastructure, and a good portion of that is going to be targeted towards public transit, it fits right in with what we're doing in terms of the JTA's vision and mission. So we're very excited about that. But we also recognize that it's in more cases than not, it's usually in a competitive program. And it's going to be those communities that have well thought out plans and projects that show collaboration, particularly regionally collaboration. Partnerships and collaborations will be successful in terms of achieving these grants. We've been very successful. I mean, your owner, Marty Ferrantino, worked very closely with us with the previous administration, and the JTA was extremely successful. It was almost embarrassing when I saw my peers around the country because they got tired of hearing about the JTA getting another grant, and it ranged the gamut, from the Bay Street Innovation Corridor, a build grant, to bus and bus facilities, as well as grants related to facilities infrastructure, transit-oriented development studies, you name it. I think we ran the table in terms of every grant that you could receive. So we're very thankful to the previous administration. I think we're well situated for this next administration in terms of competitiveness. What were the keys to success? I would say the largest key to success is the commitment to finish and deliver when you receive that funding. And so having a track record of receiving grants and executing on plans and delivering them, I think is the key to success. It works similarly in terms of FDOT, in terms of, when we are seeking grants and funding from FDOT, I think we've built a reputation both locally and nationally to get things done. And we expect to see it more than our fair share if and when there is an infrastructure bill. And we do see it as an opportunity, not just for Duval County, we see it as an opportunity for all of Northeast Florida in partnership with FDOT to get our share of that funding when it comes in. I have to thank and publicly acknowledge Marty Ferrantino and the Ferrantino Group, who were literally sitting in Secretary Chow's office on a daily basis during that tenure. And we had an inside track in terms of competitiveness against other communities across the nation. It is a competition, and those regions that have their acts together tend to do much better than others.
Thank you. I'll be sure to let Marty know. So, Mr. Nguyen, much of our infrastructure improvement projects have appeared to be demand-driven rather than proactively planning for the future. How can transportation planning be a conduit for economic development rather than a reactive response to development?
I think the case has always been both. We have to be reactive mode and proactive mode. St. Johns County is well situated and have been very proactive in predicting the market. And part of the program, especially in terms of roadway system, we are well positioned in order to receive any kind of funding that comes our way. That's the reason why I just mentioned, for example, part of the County Road 2209, we acquire over 90% of the acquisition necessary for a new facility there. And we are very fortunate with the help of the Florida Department of Transportation. Part of our number one project is State Road 313. The lower segments is from 16 down to 207. I believe has been completely acquired for that corridor. And so I think that's the proactive approach of that. The other part is the reactive modes. We can never get away from that. Sometimes certain movement, certain transition, certain new roads comes into the county. You have diversion of traffic, and then you have to basically have to react to that and to accomplish that. And we also have funding in order to address those type of reactive mode. A prime example, I think you all are aware that State Road 9B was constructed and connected to 2209. It provides a significant relief off of 210. But then at the same time, it generated other deficiencies within that area. So we are working in order to address those. So that's, I think we are well positioned in order to proactively engage in order to accomplish and predict future movement, especially in terms of transportation. Yeah.
Thank you. Secretary Evans, could you explain how the department plans for future needs and how they address those?
Well, let's go back to the previous question, being proactive versus reactive. I hate to pair those two against each other. I prefer to use the phrase proactive response. And you stole my thunder with 9B. Think about it, that connection from 2209 to 95 to US 1 to 290. Thank you, Hampton. My raise hand function is not working well today. But if you ask anybody that lives in northern St. Johns County, with that explosion of growth that occurred there and the bottleneck of traffic that those folks were experiencing, twice daily, was unremarkable. And that project 9B has been a true game changer for northern St. Johns County, and we were pleased to be a big part of that and contributor along with that. First Coast Express, a project that's been on the drawing board since the 1970s. We know it takes a while to build a 45-mile, 46-mile new alignment, but that's exactly what we were tasked with. And now, you residents of St. Johns County, if you drive over to your western border and look across the river, you see construction just on the other side. We're coming your way. And we'll be crossing the river with a brand new structure tying into I-95. There'll be multiple projects on I-95, both in St. Johns County and in Duval. For a sake of magnitude, let's look at my fiscal year 23, which we'll start procurement of in just a few months. We will be letting $1.4 billion that one single fiscal year. That's bigger than some states in the Southeast. And guys, the majority of that work will be in St. Johns County with the First Coast Express and a couple projects on I-95. So, you've heard the phrase, build it and they will come. Y'all better hold on to your hat.
Mr. Ford, how does that apply to
it's hard to follow planning? Secretary Evans. He's got all those great, but it is interesting conversation around, is it too late? Are we on schedule in terms of what's coming at us in terms of population growth in this community? And I would say that I think we're better than most. I mean, we hear horror stories of certain communities that have choked on their success because they didn't do the transportation infrastructure planning and execution to prepare for what they knew was coming in the future. When we talk about the Jacksonville Regional Transportation Center, that was planned long before Nat Ford arrived here in Jacksonville. What we did, though, in terms of the design, is didn't plan it for 2021. We planned it for 50 years and out. So it's designed to handle nearly 4 times the number of passengers it's actually handling today. And so we are preparing for the future. I say similarly, our First Coast Flyer Bus Rapid Transit Network, we're building our last line to Orange Park from downtown Jacksonville to the Orange Park Mall area. That'll be in place in this fall. Also, 57 miles of the largest bus rapid transit network in the Southeast United States. So again, a project that was sitting around for a number of years. We have the opportunity and been blessed with the opportunity to actually execute upon it. And our preliminary discussions around commuter rail is recognizing the capacity limitations on I-95 and growth that we already know is happening in terms of St. Johns County and Duval County, with a lot of the jobs that are here in Jacksonville and the commute from this county to downtown Jacksonville. Those discussions around commuter rail have already started. It's very preliminary, but I think it needs to have a great deal more examination as we go forward because of its complexity. And as I mentioned, in terms of Duval County, our execution of a local option gas tax expansion is to deal with over the next 30 years, the growth that we see that's going to occur, and to ensure that it's not just roads, it's not just public transit, but it's also sidewalks, it's bike lanes, it's really complete streets and safe streets in our community. And so I think we're a bit ahead, but you know, the thing is, all of this costs money and funding and things of that nature. And we, as the agencies, have to make good, compelling, fact-based arguments to gain citizen support for the revenues that need to be generated to execute on these programs.
Thank you, and I'll go right back to you so you don't have to go behind Secretary Evans on this one. What further types of cooperative efforts can we expect from your agencies in the future with respect to planning for continued and future growth of the county and region?
Well, I think I'll circle back to, I think the work that we've done so far with the St. John's Express Select service that that we launched last year. And obviously within a pandemic, it's not as successful as I would like it to be. I appreciate the fact that we're having this meeting and this discussion, because we do need to get the word out in terms of these alternative transportation modes that could be leveraged by St. Johns County as well as Duval County. And I mentioned earlier, we're operating services, Nassau, Baker, Clay County. And so I think continuing with that type of partnership, it is, I would say it's not simple, but it is simple in some ways in design and execution. And we recognize as the JTA our role in that. I would say also, going back to the discussion around rail, that is going to be something that we need to continue to have in both counties and explore whether that is truly a viable opportunity for us going into the future. So we look forward to that partnership. And I look forward to those very intense discussions around a major rail infrastructure investment. It's, you know, it's easy to say commuter rail. I've been asked about it ever since I arrived in Jacksonville 8 years ago. But I know that journey is much more complex than people imagine. And so it's great that we have started that discussion.
Yes, I think Miami has been working on commuter rail for quite a few years and still haven't gotten there. So,
Right.
Secretary Evans, what about you?
Well, corporation is our middle name. That's the simplest way I know how to say it. We are custodians of your taxpayers' dollars. We are public servants. We are here to serve the needs of those living, those visiting, and those working in the state of Florida. And if we're not doing that, then we're not doing our job. We work collectively with a lot of people. For instance, the North Florida TPO, of which St. Johns County is a member of. We work very closely with all the counties represented there and the board. We meet regularly on a routine basis. We have an understanding of what the priority of needs are for those county members, and pair those with the needs that we have for our safety and mobility initiatives out there. Working with Jeff Sheffield and the entire staff at TPO and the board members, it's a great experience. As I talk with my counterparts around the state, they're always at odds between the districts and the TPOs. That don't happen here. I'm proud to be able to report to those guys that, I got the easiest job in the world and probably overpaid. But no, it's a great experience to be able to do that. And, working with 18 counties, and I think I have 64 cities within those 18 counties, and the number of state, federal, local elected officials exceeds 400. So again, easy day at work. But I will say that, I'm very competitive. I have a competitive component in my blood, and I'm always looking for opportunities how I can move funding to Northeast Florida. We've been able to advance billions of dollars here in the last 7 years to move forward with advancing those projects to construction. I've been here, February was 9 years. I am, of the sitting district secretaries, of which there are 8, I have the longest tenure. So I have a few tricks up my sleeve. So those guys better look out, right?
He's not lying. He was probably knocking on the door the most frequently. Mr. Nguyen, what about you? What type of cooperative efforts can we look for from St. Johns County?
Yeah, the prime example that Mr. Ford provided is the Express Select. That's a collaborative effort between JTA and us. And the benefit from that is this. We have a purple line, which basically goes to the Avenues Mall. Now with the Express Select, we are able to reduce that and reroute the purple line in order to serve our community. So we're using that funding in order to do that. So we benefit from that. I think especially with the region, with the district, DOT and the TPO, I think the word here is equitable distribution. The DOT and TPO controls basically all the funding that comes to Northeast Florida. But through my experience through the last 12 years with the TPO and with working very closely with DOT, you can see on the book, on the record, that there's equitable distribution among all the counties, and especially among the TPO 4 counties. And I think that's one of the huge effort and huge benefit in our region that we achieve that collaboration. And so we just strive to make our secretary's job easier. But I seen on a daily basis, I have worked with Mr. Jim Knight at DOT very closely in terms of like innovative concept, reduce funding in order to achieve the same end goal. And that DOT has been very supportive to St. Johns County in order to do certain preliminary design and guidance to the county. So that's very helpful.
Thank you. Secretary Evans, what are some key technologies you expect that we will be seeing on the roads locally, regionally, and across the state in the coming 10, 20 years, and how these technologies might advance or hinder economic development in Northeast Florida?
Sorry, Hampton. When I first came here 9 years ago, we didn't even have full deployment of ITS devices and cameras outside the 295 perimeter. Today, we have full coverage on all 280 miles of interstate we have in District 2, I-75, I-10, 295, and I-95. I actually have the technology where I can actually view a camera full screen on my cell phone now. I can actually move and redirect a camera from anywhere in the world from my phone to take a look at an incident or whatever I may be getting questions about. With recent enhancements to Florida 511, you can actually get live feed on your cell phone. Not quite as enhanced as mine, mind you, but it's still that ability is there. Now, talking about technology much beyond that, at my age and the amount of gray hair that I have, I'm not the guy to talk to. Technology has long left me, so I'll share from a few notes that some gifted people that work with me have provided. There's so much technology out there that's in play and under development associated with connected autonomous vehicles, and that's more profound in that area to talk about that. But we are looking at one technology called connected vehicle technology, or CV2X, cellular vehicle to everything. And that is, we're looking at what the capabilities of these service providers are, of how we connect that vehicle to the systems, whether it be 5G, 4G, or if you get some more rural areas, 0G. So that's the limits of those capabilities. I do want to share with you the investment that Florida Turnpike Enterprise is making into SunTrax. If you want to take a look at it, it's suntraxfl.com. And this is a facility around, I think, 500 acres. It will have a 2.25 mile, almost the size of Daytona Speedway, 2.25 mile oval for a testing track for vehicles. It will also have an infield that will have a layout of streets and various structures to symbolize an urban corridor for autonomous vehicles, connected vehicles, and that type of research. It just gives a safe environment for research, development, and testing of emerging technologies. And we like to think of it as America's Center for Transportation Innovation. And again, the oval is already open. You take a look at the website, and if y'all want to go down as a group, I'm sure Turnpike can set up some arrangements to introduce that to you. I know, Nat, that's already on your schedule to take a look at. Next week, I'm on a virtual call with our secretary in Utah DOT to talk about their road usage charge. We all know that the non-fossilized fuel vehicles are operating basically for free out there in the state of Florida. And looking at, though great for the environment, they're getting a free ride when us that are burning fossil fuels are paying the way. And, we've recognized that there's going to be a peak in the fuel tax collections. And, all that's not sustainable with the amount of infrastructure that we need. So we're going to start looking at, what's the technology that's being used by other states with these pilot programs, and start that discussion of where do we move in the state of Florida.
Thank you. That's a very good point about the electric vehicles usage with the gas tax. Nat, would you like to take that one?
And thank you, Secretary Evans, for bringing that issue up. And that is part of the impetus in terms of expanding the gas tax in Jacksonville, which is at some point we do see that fossil fuels and gas tax will be a diminishing revenue stream. And if not now, as time goes on, the capacity and availability of that revenue stream actually goes away. It sunsets. And so the 30-year horizon, we believe, is an appropriate horizon. We did a great deal of examination of the offsetting of fuel efficiency and electric vehicles versus additional trips that'll be taken due to population growth. And we see the next 30 years as a critical time frame before it literally drops off because of electric vehicles. And then at some point, vehicle miles traveled, whether you're in a gas-powered vehicle or electric vehicle, that's the way that citizens will have to support transportation infrastructure going in the future. So we have to track how many miles you drive, and that's sort of the concept, but we're a long way off from that. In terms of technology, I mean, Director Evans, Secretary Evans, I'm not too far off from you. That's why I have Bernard Schmidt in the back of the room when it comes to this technology stuff. But I think we're smart enough to recognize where our strengths are and where the future may go as it relates to transportation, and we have to prepare for it now. Autonomous vehicles, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. We are using autonomous vehicles to start developing the transportation system and network for public transportation in the future. Our U2C program is taking the antiquated Skyway system, which was really ahead of its time when it was built, and it has taken a few hits over the years in terms of utilization. But going into the future, autonomous vehicles gives us the opportunity to really provide more customer-centric type transportation. You can scale it up, you can scale it back, using a lot of the data that Secretary Evans mentioned in terms of origins and destinations. And using these devices, we know exactly when you need a trip, where you want to go, what time you want to leave, and we can more efficiently tailor our services to fit your actually needs for transportation. In terms of the JTA, that technology has allowed us to get worldwide recognition. We were able to stand up our autonomous vehicles on the Mayo Clinic site and actually help with COVID-19 test specimens being moved from their actual drive-through testing to their labs literally a mile away. We used level 4 technology and our vehicles to actually fill that gap, allowing the healthcare professionals to focus on healthcare while we focused on their transportation needs. And that was a world-class implementation and got us a great deal of attention internationally. We recognize also that we need to start developing our next generation of transportation professionals, and we also partner with FSCJs, where we're actually going to be creating a curriculum around autonomous vehicle, artificial intelligence, robotics, and autonomous vehicle technology. I'm looking at Bernard to get nods. But, so that partnership with FSCJ, I think, is just going to be critical for our community to start developing all the individuals that support us to understand these technologies and help us kind of advance to that next generation of infrastructure for our community. So technology is our language because it helps us prepare for the future and the challenges we see in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning and being able to share your expertise. We are running a little bit out of time for question. Though those of you who are here in person with us, you have time to ask questions to our speaker. I would like to entertain one question from our virtual audience. And Kathy, if you can have that question.
This question came from Bill Lazar. Does workforce housing get incorporated into any of our infrastructure planning? Most builders now assume that a growing SJC workforce will commute from outside the county for work.
Who would like to take that?
Yes, a portion of our development requirement is to provide workforce housing. Any large development that comes to the county, we would require a percentage of the total development to provide that. We are also working on some initiative in order to provide some funding in order to accomplish that as well too. So yes, in St. Johns County, we have those type of regulations in place in order to help foster to provide the workforce housing component.
Thank you very much. All right, I would like to really thank you again for joining us this morning and sharing your expertise. If there are additional questions through the chat, we'll be able to answer them at a later time this morning and make sure we convey those questions to our speakers.